welcome to BW Healthcare World's Thursday Thought Leaders with Harbinder Narula. My guest today is Mr. Krishnan Ramachandran, the MD and CEO of Niva Bupa Health Insurance. He's responsible for driving the next phase of growth with focus on being the most trusted health insurance company in the country. Let's talk to him about the industry, the challenges, what does he think about, what needs to be built to make health insurance accessible and relevant to the Indian population. Welcome, Krishnan, to BW Healthcare World.
Thank you very much, Harbinder, for having me on your show. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. So, Krishnan, my first question to you is, there's been a difference in the way the hospitals are functioning. There is a better awareness in the minds of people related to healthcare. What are some of the changes that you have seen pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and how has it affected the health insurance business evolved to today?
Thank you once more, Harbinder, for the opportunity. It is a pleasure to be on your show and to share my thoughts and reflections on the health insurance industry. I think pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID, let me separate it out into those three phases. I'd say what COVID has done for the health insurance and healthcare industry broadly is that it certainly increased awareness. I think there's no two things to that. Across age segments, across income segments, I think everybody in the country recognized that they needed health insurance, including the young people who have traditionally shied away from health insurance. So COVID increased awareness. Second, that awareness did translate into urgency. So across the board, and certainly we as a company grew our business quite dramatically during COVID. So in that sense, I'd say COVID has been an inflection point for the industry. Post-COVID, there has been, what in mathematics you refer to as mean reversion. Certainly the awareness continues to be very high, but I think the sense of urgency, has sort of normalized. Not to say that, the purchase of health insurance, it still continues to grow at 18, 20, 22%, which is a very rapid clip when you think about it. But the 30, 40% growth rates that the industry witnessed during COVID, that has fallen down to more normalized 18, 22%. I think the other thing that happened on the back of COVID, Harbinder, is in terms of healthcare delivery itself. I will refer to two shifts. One is clearly both customers, patients, as well as providers started to become more and more comfortable with digital means of delivering and consuming healthcare, if you will. Again, there has been mean reversion, but clearly we're seeing that, when there's a shift in behavior, it's not that it falls back to what it was pre-COVID, but it's somewhere between what was there in COVID and pre-COVID. So in that sense, there's definitely been a shift. And that's in consonance with broadly what we're seeing in terms of embrace of digital in the Indian economy. I think the other aspect that we've witnessed is, on the back of COVID, there were a number of structural changes that providers needed to make to accommodate for patient safety, et cetera. We've not seen that gone back to pre-COVID levels. So there's been, in that sense, maybe a bit of a structural shift as far as health inflation is concerned, which accentuates, if you will, the importance of having health insurance, having the right kind of health insurance, and so on and so forth. Somewhat long answer, but hopefully, I've conveyed some sense of some of the major shifts we have seen.
Absolutely. It absolutely resonates with what is there in my mind. So what do you think, Krishnan, is the current size of the medical insurance industry in the country today?
Look, if I would have answered maybe 500,000 rupees in a tier 2 city and 10 lakh rupees in a tier 1 city pre-COVID, my answer to that would be more like 1 million or 10 lakh rupees in a tier 2 city and maybe even 20 lakhs in a city like Delhi, Bombay, because as I stated, structurally there's been a cost, and I think an adequate cover, depending on the geography, is more like 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs. That would be my straight answer, and this is what we advise our distributors as well as our customers, Harbinder, because the reality today is that India is, unfortunately, both, afflicted with NCDs as well as infections. We are, post monsoon is peak infectious disease season time. But we all know that India patients are predisposed to heart disease. Cancers, unfortunately, are becoming more and more common. Accidents and trauma, are much more high frequent here than in other parts of the world, and those are fairly expensive when you get hospitalized.
So, which is the biggest disease burden that you have seen, which gets claimed for in insurance in India?
Number one, continues to be infections in terms of volume. Mm-hmm. Value terms, infections depend, would still be the number one cost driver as far as claims are concerned, but very closely followed by the NCD, non-communicable diseases, Harbinder. So whether that's heart-related, cancers related, so those would together make up the top five, and accidents, NCDs, and accidents would make for the top five in terms of claims cost for an insurance company. In a corporate setting, maternity would be in the top three, but maternity is more a life event as opposed to being a disease. So, right. Stripped for maternity broadly, you'd find a similar pattern on the corporate side as well.
And Krishnan, in India, we have either seen a large population which is not insured or is underinsured. They're not adequately insured. Do you think that shift is happening? Are people becoming more aware? And do you think that healthcare insurance is considerably becoming more affordable with each year?
So let me refer to your question in three parts. One is the low penetration level. It certainly continues to be something that we need to work on collectively as an industry and as a company, Harbinder. Maybe 350, 400 million Indians still need health insurance or have limited support as far as hospitalization access is concerned. Variously referred to as the missing middle by Niti Aayog, the insurance regulator. I think this perhaps is the biggest penetration problem for health insurance to solve, just in terms of lives covered. And here I think a number of things need to be done to increase penetration, starting with at the most basic level, awareness, affordability, assurance. I think it's important in an industry like health insurance, which is a conjoint twin of healthcare. We need to make sure that we have assurance, that trust gets built, and access. Health insurance, as we discussed a little while ago, if you have to translate awareness into purchase, it does require conversation, and requires distribution like reach. So I'd say for us to move the needle as far as the low penetration per se is concerned, work to be done on the 4 A's, as I refer to it. As far as underinsurance is concerned, does continue to be a challenge. Having said that, with the government rolling out the Ayushman Bharat scheme, at least the days of insurance of 50,000 rupees, 2 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees are gone, because the government scheme is now providing or has set a minimum threshold of 5 lakh. Still not adequate, still significant underinsurance, but at least we have a much better lower bound, if you will, of 500,000 rupees as as a base cover. Having said that, as I stated, I think there is a new normal in terms of what's adequate, depending on the tier of city. And relative to that, Indians do continue to be significantly underinsured. And that brings me to the last, but perhaps the most important element you spoke about, which is this whole topic of affordability. And look, Harbinder, my view on this is that affordability is something that the ecosystem needs to deliver. If health insurance premiums have to be affordable, fundamentally healthcare has to be affordable. Premiums cover for hospitalization expense, and if inherently, more Indians are becoming sick for all of the reasons I mentioned, and for those who do fall sick, hospitalization is increasingly more expensive. That somewhere has to reflect in the premium. So I think as an industry, we need to solve for affordability in the entire value chain. So it's not just about cutting corners to get insurance premiums affordable, but to fundamentally get healthcare affordable. And that is a whole separate topic by itself.
I agree with you, Krishnan. Krishnan, now my question to you related to corporate insurances. For health insurance companies, corporate business is big. And these corporates also use health insurance as one of the tools to attract and retain their talent, and it is big. Now, what has happened is for people who are working in these corporates, their needs are very, very different. So one of the things that these guys are dealing with is obesity and lifestyle issues. They are dealing with women who are going to be facing infertility. And somehow these conditions are not yet adequately covered or not covered in the health insurances. How is insurance dealing with the newer dynamics of how the industry is working, or what new conditions people are concerned about?
So I will speak first to our philosophy on how we look at including on the corporate side, Harbinder, because I think that will directly address the core of your question, which is that we believe that the days of health insurance, writing a risk and going back annually to renew it will soon be gone. And we view ourselves just as Bupa, our UK headquartered shareholder, is a healthcare company. They are not just a health insurance company. So our fundamental view of health insurance is we are not just there to only provide financial protection, but we're also there to be a healthcare partner. Now, you don't have to necessarily run a hospital to be a healthcare partner. You can do a range of things in the continuum of the healthcare journey to be a healthcare partner. And simply put, we divide what we do into two parts. One is we help our customers know their health, and we help our customers manage their health. So knowing your health could be as simple, but importantly, providing high quality content. So for example, through our joint venture partner Bupa, we have the highest quality clinical content for somebody to just understand, what's going on with me. Know your health could mean, hey, can I get a high quality second opinion, right? There is this health issue with me. My treating doctor or my current doctor is saying something. Is this right? Or can I get a second opinion, right? So a range of things to just understand what's going on with your health is one part of what we do. The second part is to really help our customers manage health. And, this directly speaks to what you mentioned about lifestyle conditions. So, somebody who is, for example, afflicted with diabetes, on average, and this is what our data says, will end up spending 2.5 times as much on healthcare as the averagely healthy individual. And through one simple step of making sure you take your medication, this 2.5 times could be dramatically brought down. Now, there's two aspects to managing diabetes. One is the whole lifestyle management, which is your diet, sleep, exercise, and so on and so forth, which is hard to do. Easy to say, but hard to do. But the other one, and perhaps the more powerful one is to just make sure that you take your medication. And a lot of people surprisingly don't do this. So, with our Smart Health Plus rider, our focus is on managing diabetes. So to answer your question, I think the role of the health insurer also has to fundamentally evolve to become a risk manager. A risk manager because, of the health risk of their insured population. So whether it's a corporate setting or a retail setting, this is how we view our role. This is how the industry must shift, especially if we have to deal with the enormous NCD burden that we are faced with today. Again, long answer, but
No, this is Krishnan.
But quite passionate about what we drive here in the company. No, please go ahead.
No, I think, this is, you hit the nail, because, one of the questions that I have for you is also that as an insurance company, don't you think that you guys need to invest more in preventive healthcare? Because the moment people start living healthier and there is a reduction in the healthcare burden on the country, the insurance companies will anyways be more profitable business as well. Do you agree with this, or what is your opinion on this?
No, 100%. I think, and preventive health, has two components to it, right? One is what the public service must deliver, whether that's clean air, access to, good portable drinking water, roads that inherently lend themselves to fewer accidents, and so on and so forth. But also, the whole lifestyle management part to it. And I think in the entire spectrum, at the minimum we can, for example, wearing a helmet is such a big deal. Road accidents, unfortunately, they are what they are. But the difference between having a helmet and not is dramatic, right? And I'm sure all of us, or many of us, are personally aware of many anecdotes where somebody with a helmet, so sensitizing customers about, hey, something as simple as wear the helmet, right? You don't need the government to mandate that you wear the helmet. So, that is also in some sense prevention, but helping customers making the right lifestyle choices in terms of diet, sleep, health, exercise, stress, all the way through. If somebody's got, a lifestyle condition like diabetes, in addition to, all the four components I spoke about, take your medicines. So I think as a company, we are focused, and we disproportionately put our focus into areas where we think we can bring about behavior change, because it's the hardest thing to do, Harbinder. Easy to say, but difficult to do. But we disproportionately put our focus in areas where we think we can truly affect change that's good for the customer, and hey, by the way, fantastic for the insurance company as well.
And Krishnan, the science of health is evolving and advancing with every passing day today, quicker than what we have seen in the past. And do you think that the healthcare insurances, the basic covers, are changed frequently to make it more useful and relevant to the population of this country?
Harbinder, firstly, I agree with your point that health insurance coverage, the products do need to address what's changing in medicine. 2-3 problems that come in the way of us doing that more effectively as far as the Indian market is concerned. First and foremost, given how fragmented healthcare is, given the lack of standards that are enforceable, so to speak, there is a significant lack of progress in the practice of evidence-based medicine, or there is significant variability in how medicine gets practiced. I mean, just to give you an example, something like robotic surgery, there is an indication from the manufacturer in terms of when it's effective, when it's to be used, when it's not as effective. But what we find as an insurance company is a lot of times those indications are not adhered to. In which case, the cost increases for no obvious additional patient benefit, right? So I think this is one problem that we need to address. The fact that there is insufficient adoption of protocols and evidence-based medicine. That's one. Second is, medicine is art and science. So when a new innovation is introduced, for example, in the UK, the NICE is a body which does what is called health technology assessments, where they fundamentally, as with any new thing, they assess the cost and benefit, because ultimately there's a price to pay, and somebody's got to pay that price. And so, the NICE authority assesses a new technology for, hey, what's the incremental benefit? What's the incremental cost? And is this something that we would want insurance or taxpayer money to reimburse, for example? So we do need to evolve in India to get to doing systematic HTAs, so that we don't have a situation where the costs are going up, but there is no incremental value in terms of outcomes or experience from a patient standpoint. So I think this is the other problem statement that does need to get addressed, because I just make an important point, because at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay. Like it or not, we could have the best medical, and there could be one argument that we should have the best of best, but then it has to be affordable, and it has to reach enough people, and so if insurers have to cover it, and if affordability is a core objective for us, we do need to make these choices. So these are some of the challenges in terms of coverage. A very, very important question, and something that we need to address at a country level if we have to move forward, as an industry.
So, Krishnan, since you brought up technology, you use the word robotics. Beyond healthcare, technology advancement is also helping us do our businesses better. So how is technology helping insurance companies, and are the technologies like AI and blockchain helping bettering the customer connect and claim settlements today?
Very much so, Harbinder. I think across the value chain, sales, servicing, claims, and let me call it internal automation or efficiency, I think technology has played a very fundamental role. And a lot of this has been enabled through behavior shifts that we saw through COVID. So as an example, I said that we saw a big spike in sales because of awareness and urgency during COVID. Now all of us were sitting at home. The reality is that we were able to reach out to customers, have conversations, and give policies simply because our sales had become digital. Whether it's a digitally led conversation or a digital payment mechanism, that entire sales cycle had become digital. Similarly with servicing and claims, servicing increasingly is becoming self-serve, assisted by intelligent algorithms, whether you call that AI or whatever name, but fundamentally beneath it is an algorithm that technology is able to deliver to the customer. So today, for example, our ambition on claims, and we partner with another company that reads the hospital bill, digitizes it using AI, and delivers a decision in seconds. So a dramatically different customer experience. And lastly, I think in terms of the internal efficiency of us as an operator, as we look at automating, making intelligent customer-facing, distributor-facing processes, equally anything that we look at this, it's equally important for us to be efficient and effective for our employees. So internal automation is as big an agenda as what we do for our customers and distributors.
And Krishnan, what brings me to the next question is that since we are talking of technology, AI, blockchain, there's an intelligence around the data being shared today, and there's a lot that we can gather about the people. Now, the tech advancements are bringing personalization. Now, the personalization needs to go beyond just marketing and creating a connect. Do you think with the opportunity to personalize, are we looking at an opportunity also to personalize the health insurance for an individual? Is that something that will be a reality?
At a product level, we look at products for segments. I can't say that we are in a position that we are able to have a product for you, Harbinder, which is different than the product that we have for your neighbor. We could get more and more micro about how we do the segmentation. But fundamentally, we do need to have a pool where the underlying risk characteristics are such that we can offer an insurance solution. So where we are in terms of our journey as a company is we are more and more segment specific when it comes to what we do with products. But when and the same philosophy then carries through in terms of how we serve and how we manage. So, for example, somebody who's who's had a certain hospitalization event, our objective is we are personalized about how we serve her or him, and how we partner with her or him in terms of managing managing health. But it's still at a, let me call it, it's personalized, but it is at a broader segment level. Maybe we get down to micro segments as we evolve, and we have larger and larger risk pools in each of these segments. But it's not personalized, to you, Harbinder, different from your neighbor. It's not at that point at this, in terms of where we are. And whether it gets there, given the requirement of always having to, build and manage risk pools, I don't know.
Got it. Now, Krishnan, we were talking about affordability. You did address the concern earlier, but a lot of people, families have started going in for a kind of a comprehensive family insurances, and they've become really popular. So you have a joint insurance, which is a cover for the husband, wife, and the kids. Who is it best suited for? And are there any flip sides to this kind of an insurance? Is there something that people need to be aware of?
I think, Harbinder, in terms of what we encourage as a company, we do encourage prospective customers to take family insurance, or the family floater, to use industry parlance. I think the key thing there is to make sure that you have you have adequate insurance, that you're not underinsured, the point which you made earlier on. So number one, we think it's good to get the entire family insured, make sure you have adequate insurance. And I think two, three other shifts that I foresee the market will evolve to, so that we are able to keep premiums affordable, which is what I refer to as cost sharing mechanisms. And here there's a range of cost sharing mechanisms that insurers are starting to introduce in the market, in the form of deductibles, which is you pay a fixed amount before the insurance kicks in. It could be a co-payment, which is on the total value of the claim, you pay a certain percentage. And I think this is extremely powerful because then it brings in the consumer, not just the patient. Also, I think increasingly companies are bringing in the concept of what I call tiered networks. Example, you don't need to go to a high-end tertiary care facility to get your infection treated. You could go into a secondary care, appropriate quality hospital. So all of these taken together, I think will serve the cause of affordability. And I think it's important as we move along, Harbinder, to bring in the consumer, not just the patient, into the entire value chain.
And are there some challenges that you as insurance companies are facing that need to be addressed? Is there something that is your ask from the government that can make insurance companies work better?
In terms of asks, one big long-standing ask, which is around tax, and two components to this ask. One is, I truly believe health insurance is an essential product for every Indian to have. And indeed, the chairman, the insurance regulator, has this very, very ambitious vision of insurance for all by 2047. In that context, 18% GST, in my mind, is not an appropriate rate of tax for what is an essential product. And this 18% GST also introduces an anomaly in terms of the ability of insurance companies to offer outpatient services, because healthcare is tax exempt. So to build a value proposition with 18% GST while the underlying service is tax exempt, has been a challenge. The second aspect around taxation, I'd say, is insurance, given awareness levels, continues to be a discretionary product. And I think there's enough literature globally, on the back of Cass Sunstein's book around nudge, that policy incentives do make a difference when you have to shell out money for something where the cost is today and the benefits are on into the future. So the tax advantages to purchasing health insurance, I personally feel, are important. So the ATD benefit, I think, is an important policy nudge that government should continue to deliver, especially given the challenges of healthcare, the challenges of low penetration that we are experiencing, or we experience today as a country. So I think as we think about shift to a direct tax regime, which is very good on multiple fronts, somewhere I do feel it's important to continue to have policy nudges, policy incentives for people to buy health insurance.
Got it. And now let me come towards portability. Krishnan, this is a very big issue that people face. One is a lot of people get their health insurance while they are working in their in the corporate that they may be working with, and sometime later, either when they quit their job or they get laid off, the insurance ceases to exist. Now, is there a possibility? Is there something that allows them to move from their corporate insurance, health insurance, to a personal individual insurance without too much of a hassle?
So I want to make 2 points here. One, and I'll make a point on behalf of my company using your platform, is I think the corporate segment, the salaried segment, has historically not thought about buying insurance that permanently lasts with them regardless of their job situation. Historically, there may have been valid reasons, and maybe not enough top-up insurance, not enough ability to switch to the point you make. Now, I think with the deductible that I mentioned to you, I do feel there are a range of affordable retail health insurance products, significantly lower priced than a conventional product, that every salaried person should keep. That then solves for, in between jobs. It solves for when you get closer to retirement, hey, you need to have your own cover. So I think there's a range of affordable, deductible-driven health insurance solutions that are available today that a salaried person must consider. As an example, we've just recently introduced a product that squarely addresses this underlying need. So I think, my submission to the entire salaried segment is, don't wake up when it's too late. And when insurance is generally available when you're when you're healthy. It's meant for uncertainty, not certainty. When somebody is down with a health condition where that there's certainty of claim, then insurance is not going to be able to offer a solution at that point. So one, there's a range of product solutions that are available today for the salaried customer. I do personally and passionately advocate that people do take a look and make sure that they are not tied to their company for insurance. Second, Harbinder, is there is portability by regulation. So when somebody has a group cover or a company cover from their corporate, they do have the ability to switch to a retail cover with portability benefits with whoever is providing the corporate cover. So that facility is available even as we speak today.
Got it. And Krishnan, medical tourism is expected to grow exponentially in times to come. The government and the private sector both are working aggressively on making this happen. Now these people traditionally are the ones who are not going to be covered when they come for medical procedures in India. Is there something which is on the cards to help people who come to India to get medical procedures that could grow the segment of medical tourism in the country?
So most people who come in to get treatment in India, two categories of people have been there. One is people who have an insurance abroad that allows them to come and get treated in India because it's the same quality, same or better quality at a lower cost. So there's that category of medical tourism. And there's the other category, which is cash paying patients who come in from the Middle East, from Africa, Bangladesh, and so on and so forth. Now, our license permits us to offer insurance to residents of India. Now, we do have the ability to set up an office elsewhere, but frankly, if you have to locally distribute, it's about getting into a different regulation, making the investments, assessing the market, and so on and so forth. And we are part of a global healthcare company where they have operations, for example, in many parts of the world. So at least as part of our mandate, given the opportunity in India, we believe there's enough and more that keeps us busy in the Indian market and not necessarily go abroad to look at this particular opportunity. Could we look at it down the road? Perhaps, but at this point, we're quite busy with India, Harbinder.
And one of the the success of the quick claims is when the insurance company and the hospital work very closely. Do you think something needs to be done to build even more robust and efficient way to seamless manage these claims?
No, 100%. And I do believe that in the next 6 months, we are going to see a revolution as far as this is concerned. All companies are at a very advanced stage of integrating with the Health Claims Exchange of the National Health Authority. By end of August, all of us will be fully integrated. And this will dramatically improve customer experience, to your point. It will, by eliminating friction, greater transparency around process, information. And then it's, once this integration is done, it's about driving adoption. And there's also work on the India Health Stack, as you're perhaps aware, with the NDHM, strategy being clearly articulated. So I think there are some very, very exciting times ahead as far as customer experience is concerned. A partnership between the NHA, HCX, and the industry. And in 6 months' time, I'm sure we will start to see a difference on the ground as far as customer experience is concerned, enabled by the Health Claims Exchange.
Krishnan, I have 2 more questions, which are burning questions. One is that what does Niva Bupa do to ensure data protection? Because data protection, the kind of data that you have, is so important. And what do you as an organization do to ensure that data is protected and there are no leakages?
I think there's three parts to data protection, in terms of how we look at it. One, of course, and the most obvious is the technology aspect to it. And there we have made significant investments, whether it's a DLP tool or other information security tools. We've made significant investments around just making sure that we have all the right technologies for the purpose of data protection. And as you're aware, the insurance regulator is very keen, has policies, and make sure that insurance companies make the right kind of investments as far as data protection is concerned. And we've made those investments over and above the minimum necessary that the regulation requires. So that's one part to it. Second is the process element, which is about making sure that whether it's audits, whether it's engaging third parties systematically to review how good is our information security, the VAPT testing. So we do all of that in more than adequate measure. And look, frankly, you can never do enough when it comes to this topic, but from a process standpoint, we've put in place a lot of those things to make sure that we're continuously testing out what our technology has put in place. And perhaps the most important part, and the one that we are making progress in the journey to, is on the people side. Because a lot of the data challenges, the privacy challenges occur typically because of insiders. So making sure that we have a culture of treating data as an important asset that needs to be safeguarded, making sure that we're addressing privacy concerns culturally through our people is something that we're quite focused on. So all three elements taken together is what moves the needle for us as far as privacy and data protection is concerned.
And Krishnan, my last question to you is about the recent debate that was there about who decides when the patient needs to be hospitalized. There's been the case that came to light recently in the court. What is your view on this? Do you think malpractices happen because because of unreasonable insurance rules in the country, or what is it that you think needs to happen?
Look, I think the first thing that I want to point out is the insurance contract is not a blank check. And I think our number one duty as an insurance company is to make sure that we protect. See, fundamentally, we take money from policyholders, from many, and we pay the few who need it. So we do have an obligation, if you will, to make sure that the money that gets paid out in claims is necessary, is genuine, because only then do we make sure that we have a sustainable system in place. So on this question of is hospitalization necessary, it goes back to the point which I mentioned, or we spoke about earlier, which is, look, there are clearly laid out protocols in medicine in terms of care pathways, in terms of when to admit, when not to admit, and what is medically necessary. Our products pay for what is medically necessary, and the hospitalization should be for a situation where there is active medical management. We don't want to pay for somebody to get hospitalized to get a few tests done. We don't want to pay for somebody to get hospitalized because somebody has to, drive up bed capacity utilization. So we do have a responsibility and an obligation to safeguard policyholders' money. As with any industry, the healthcare industry has outstanding examples, but there are black sheep. And we do have an obligation to carefully inspect what is needed, what is not needed. We do have a point of view. We do engage experts. We do publish our criteria, admission criteria. We do transparently publish what we believe is medically necessary. We ask our hospital partners to tell us, what are their criteria. Now, in this dialogue, there are disagreements where we believe something is not necessary. And we ask for evidence if somebody feels that it's the contrary. So, it's almost an obligation from our side to do this, Harbinder. That's my point of view as a practitioner for, close to 20 years across the Indian and other markets.
Krishnan, this conversation around what is happening in the healthcare industry, where is it going in terms of technology advancement and better claim management, understanding how the data needs to be safeguarded and what is it that Niva Bupa is doing to safeguard the data, and your perspective around, paying as an obligation for something that is necessary as per the medical protocol. I think it's been a very, very useful conversation. And, my biggest takeaway was to understand that, insurances, especially health insurance, is meant for uncertainties and not for the certainties. And that is something that needs to be understood by everyone so that they, don't just pass judgments based on emotions. Second, what you spoke about is that the practice of medicine needs to be more evidence-based. And that is going to change the way the relationship between a patient, the medical service provider, the healthcare provider, and the insurance company will become seamless. Thank you so much for taking out time to speak with us at BW Healthcare World.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being on, talking to you and being on your show. Thank you very much, Harbinder.